Recently, MatPat released a video about Community. Specifically, he released a video revolving around Season 5, Episode 3 of Community, Basic Intergluteal Numismatics. Before I just jump right into it and start talking about how MatPat is an unlikable, unfunny egomaniac who panders to children, I'd like to just set the record straight. I don't like MatPat. I don't like game theory, I don't like film theory, or any of his spin-off shows. That being said, I recognize that I am not his target demographic. I am not a mush-brained 10-year-old who thinks that MatPat is the smartest person in the universe. If you like his content, great, I don't really give a shit. But I have very few nice things to say about him, and unless you plan on hate-watching this video, much like I hate-watch his videos, I'd suggest you just stop now. Save yourself the hassle, go drink some tea or jerk off, because you're probably not going to enjoy what I have to say. Is MatPat funny? Think about that question, and ask yourself if you genuinely enjoy his sense of humor. I personally find his home-brand, safe style of comedy repulsive. His jokes have no substance. They're mindless 2-second pieces of comedy which usually revolve around some shitty pun or play on words. Just have a look.
Birds. Later on in today's show, we'll have a preview of Greendale's hottest themed dances coming up this semester. I'm personally looking forward to Dean Pelton's Flossathon for cavity prevention. It's sure to make plenty of human beings out there open up and say, "Aw, yeah!" But first, let's all loosen up our belts because we've finally cracked the case of Greendale's most notorious criminal. That's right, human beings, we're cashing in on the identity of the butt crack bandit, which, is called something else in the show, but YouTube is stricter than mainstream media, so you gotta stay brand safe, and you can keep the change on that one. Back after these messages, MatPat theorizing in the morning.
It's time to stop!
Get ready, because today we're gonna be dropping some quarter-sized nuggets of knowledge down your unsuspecting brain pants. There's a crime afoot in the halls of Greendale Community College, and it's up to us to finally crack the case of the serial cracker.
Stop!
Yeah, you get the fucking idea. From what I was saying before, I'd go one step further and say that the stage persona MatPat has absolutely no comedic substance. Now, I should probably distinguish that when I say stage persona, I'm referring to the version of MatPat that he wants you to see. The haha goofy look at me I'm a jokey fun guy persona that appears in all of his videos. And while I'm sure the gap between stage MatPat and real life Matthew Patrick isn't very big, the person I find repulsively annoying is the stage performer. I don't know the real MatPat. I've never met him or spoken to him. But fuck me, his whole persona is insufferable. MatPat's entire projected personality is an ego-driven megalomaniac who has just enough charisma to coast off of. To pose the question of whether or not he's likable is a bit redundant. Of course he's likable. He has a channel with millions of subscribers, he's intelligent, and he boasts a lot of confidence. So, let me change the question a bit. Is he a good entertainer, or is he just manipulative? Go back and watch any episode of Game Theory, any episode of Film Theory, or even that one YouTube RedTube series where he had to jump off shit or whatever.
I'm MatPat.
Like I said, MatPat is intelligent. He seems like a smart enough guy to know how to market himself and his brand in such a way that he makes you think that he's a likable person. Let's check some shit off a list. He's non-offensive, his humor is simple, and the concept he chooses to talk about are easy to digest. The shit I've talked about since the beginning of this video stems from these simple factors. MatPat is smart enough to know how to play the game. The problem with that, though, is that he's not a good content creator. Go and watch any of his videos and you'll see that, past his brand, he is a cookie-cutter entertainer, wearing a clown suit and appealing to a younger audience because that's what makes him money. MatPat, by this point in his career, does not give a shit about the theories he comes up with. He's a businessman, and that would be fine, except his entire persona is built around being relatable to his audience. As a result of these two intersecting ideas, one, wanting to make money, and two, wanting to be relatable so he can keep making money, what we're left with is this inane, unfunny, boring machine that churns out the exact same fucking content over and over and over again, whilst hoping that no one notices. Or that, if people notice, they don't care enough because, haha, game theory guy. To me, MatPat is a snake in the grass. Beyond his glaring personality issues and low-hanging comedy, he is just not a good content creator. Now, do you see what I just did there? I pulled a MatPat on you fuckers. Do you even remember what the point of this video was? I started off talking about some episode of Community that MatPat talked about, then spent 5 minutes talking about semi-related nonsense to pad for timing. This is the MatPat way. This is what he does. His videos are a fucking slog to get through because they are filled with utter fucking garbage. So much filler padding that adds absolutely nothing to the rest of the video, and I just did it to you. What does the whole introduction to the video have to do with what I'm about to talk about? Oh, it provides context. It helps inform the viewers. It's just padding. You've just been padded, motherfucker. And MatPat does it to you every goddamn episode. MatPat, or more commonly known as Matto in the Japanese community, made a video on the ass crack bandit. The video itself has a runtime of 19 minutes and 31 seconds, and about 2 minutes of that pertains to the conclusion of the theory itself. MatPat is so obsessed with bringing an overarching story into his videos and shaping them in such a way that his theories are presented as fact, that he forgets about an important aspect of storytelling, being concise. Rather than providing genuine entertainment with well-written jokes that act as both informative and interesting pieces of content, this video serves as more of a winding path of unnecessary bullshit that resolves itself in the most self-glorifying way possible. MatPat isn't here to entertain or be informative. His objective with this video is to ensure that you spend as much of it as possible thinking that he's a deep intellectual who does thorough research. To me, bias included or not, the way he discusses the contents of this episode and structures his arguments for and against pieces of information is incredibly one-sided. MatPat has a story to tell, and it doesn't matter whether or not he's being informative as long as his audience thinks he's being informative. He goes through 10 or so suspects for who the ass crack bandit could be, and either rejects or accepts them based on the narrative that he chooses. He knows how the video ends. He knows that the evidence he has can be framed in such a way that it's substantial enough for him to deliver a satisfying conclusion. Yet, he spends the majority of the video discussing why other people aren't the ass crack bandit. The obvious rebuttal to this is that MatPat is trying to entertain his viewers, that he's attempting to deliver evidence in such a way that it eliminates suspects until only one remains. Very classic detective novel kind of stuff. This feeds back into my narrative idea. MatPat doesn't give a fuck about the subject material. He only cares about the story he wants to tell. This is my second MatPat moment. This entire video I frame the narrative in a certain way, providing a very one-sided approach to the situation in much the same way that MatPat frames his videos to suit his narrative. He knew that he wanted Abed to be the ass crack bandit. All he needed to do was waste the viewer's time for 14 minutes until he was ready to reveal the information. If this is your idea of entertainment, go ahead and watch it. But I think it warrants being pointed out that each video that the theorists release is tailor-made specifically to manipulate you, to waste your time rather than delivering you substantial or interesting content. I watch MatPat's videos because they're fun to make fun of. I get a kick out of seeing how much he pads his videos with useless information or frames the narrative so that his theory always seems to be the best theory, even if he's completely wrong. He's not a likable content creator. He's not a compelling personality. He's just a businessman masquerading as your friend. Before I finish this off, I'd like to just say that this isn't me debunking his theories. He can make his shitty Rick and Morty fan theory videos and jerk off to them as much as he likes. This video doesn't even really have a point. I just personally don't like MatPat's content. I think it's manipulative and subpar. I'm not saying my content is any better. Hell, this whole thing is poorly constructed. I just felt like pointing out some of the bullshit he does to make people think he's a lot smarter than he actually is. And to help prove that point, I've taken the liberty to cut down the aforementioned Ass Crack Bandit video. Cutting out the filler, the shitty jokes, the absurdly long introductions, and just getting to the point of the video, it ends up being about 2 minutes long. If he actually made his videos with short-form content in mind, it'd probably end up being 5 to 10 minutes long, if only to provide some essential context for his conclusion.
By the end of intergluteal numismatics, the case is left as wide open as the back of an ill-fitting pair of jeans. The ACB escapes unidentified. It's an incredibly frustrating, dangling loose end to the story of the show, one that I hope to finally tie up with today's video. We can do most of the work of eliminating suspects by using what in criminology are called the 3 indicators pillars of suspicion: means, opportunity, and motive. Means is all about having the tools necessary to commit the crime, and it's not exactly like quarters are particularly hard to come by. Means, though, also relates to the physical capabilities of the suspect, and that one is helpful because it immediately gets rid of Pierce as a potential candidate. In Season 2, when the bandit first becomes active, Pierce is confined to a breath-powered wheelchair, and let's just say he's not great at maneuvering around. There's no chance that he's gonna be able to sneak up on anybody in this thing, so he's immediately off our list. Opportunity most closely aligns with alibi. If you're accounted for during the crime, we can safely eliminate you. In the opening of the episode, Shirley, Dean Pelton, and Chang are all in the cafeteria for the ribbon cutting of Shirley's sandwiches. And when Garrett runs in from having just been cracked, all three of them are still visibly there. So that knocks another 3 suspects off our list. It also can't be Starburns. When Duncan gets cracked, Starburns is still locked in his cage in the cafeteria being pelted with change. So that now leaves us with 5 potential suspects remaining: Hickey, Jeff, Britta, Annie, and Abed. The intricate nature of the ACB's crimes is consistent with how immersive Abed can be in his little projects. He's one of the few characters who'd be willing to commit to a bit for literal years just to see it pay off. And here, just like in the crime dramas that he watches, he laid out clues that would point to everyone else, mentioning God to make Shirley a suspect, citing Dave Matthews to make Duncan and Jeff a suspect, calling out Jeff and Annie's relationship to force Britta into the spotlight, cracking his own friend Troy to avoid suspicion himself. It's exactly how these crime dramas seed out red herrings to point to everyone else until it's finally revealed that the detective was in on it the entire time. But only Abed has the means, the opportunity, the motive, and properly fits all the physical evidence that we have to do the deed. He only quits his crimes because Pierce dies at the end of the episode and Troy leaves on a boat with LeVar Burton shortly thereafter. His life from that point forward in the series becomes a lot more serious, and his hijinks become a lot more muted. But it's important to remember, Abed didn't assume the role of the ACB to be malicious. Quite the contrary, he did it to help him understand the world just a little bit better, to relate to others just that much more. I think at this point in time, we can all relate to the feeling of comfort that comes with immersing yourself in a fictional world. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory.
Fuck you, MatPat.